at 3 o'clock this morning, witnessed the spectacle of an adoring crowd handing over unprecedented executive power to one man. President Erdogan has already been in charge for 16 years, but these devotees are begging for more. So what his critics call one-man rule is, he suggested, the very opposite.
The winners of this election are democracy and all our 81 million citizens. I want to thank all of you who went to the polls today in this democratic festival.
Turnout was a staggering 87%. Mr. Erdogan polling nearly 53%. Allegations of election fraud not serious enough to challenge the result, because Turks in their tens of millions revere their president in ways which would make even Donald Trump beg for it to stop.
Erdogan is the world leader. He loves his country. He loves his people. He made roads, he made airports, he made everything. He is the father of the oppressed. He is the father of the whole world. Not just us, but America, Europe, everybody.
The president's television campaign conveyed him and his people as heirs of the Ottoman sultans, warriors and sages of the Orient, as if Turkey was still living down the nickname of the sick man of Europe. And with Erdogan, these people do feel great again. That old cliche about Turkey being a bridge between East and West feels a lot less true tonight, because Turks have voted to keep a nationalist strongman far more at home, it seems, in Central Asia or the Middle East. Yes, Turkey's place in Europe always seemed a bit of a mirage, a bit of a pipe dream, but it did at least provide a direction of travel for secular forces in this deeply divided country. It was a direction set by Ataturk, Turkey's founding father, the only leader who has rivaled Erdogan's power. And in an upmarket district of his capital, the lamentation has begun. Ataturk would be very upset if he saw this, she says. We have not followed the Republic's path. Do you think Turkey is becoming a dictatorship?
It has been already, I think. Yeah, unfortunately. It's so sad to say this, because I'm Turkish.
Mr. Erdogan works in this building of over 1,000 rooms, which his advisers insist should be called a compound and not a palace. One of those advisers telling me a coup attempt against him 2 years ago justifies a state of emergency in which the UN says around 160,000 people have been detained. How can you call this election fair when Mr. Erdogan got 12 times the amount of national TV airtime compared with his nearest rival, and thousands of people have been locked up?
The Turkish TVs, they followed all of the meetings, but at the same time, President Erdogan, he organized 3 rallies during a day. I'm talking about a very energetic election campaign by President Erdogan. He didn't sleep during the month of Ramadan.
And how was this election good for somebody like Osman Kavala, who has been jailed for the last 8 months without being charged with any crime?
It's not a matter of the election. It's not my
well, the president's in charge, and people want to know if he's going to end the state of emergency.
It's a matter of justice.
And have people released from prison.
It's a matter of justice. You can ask to his lawyers or someone interested in the matter.
But thousands of judges have been sacked and replaced with people considered loyal to the president.
No, we are talking about a very real trauma for just which is the 15th of July.
A coup attempt.
If there are more who infiltrated into the system, you should do this in order to make a cleaning of the system, in order to refreshing the system. You have to find the responsibles.
The fear is, as you know, that people think Turkey is now a one-man regime, that it's an elected, popular, elected dictatorship.
You should leave asking this question. You should leave this asking a question. If you name the democratically elected president of a country as a dictator, you should question yourself, not me.
While the president's advisor was partying here last night, international election observers said the contest had been genuine but unfair. And one couldn't help noticing that the leaders of Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan were among the first to congratulate Turkey's leader by phone. Jonathan Rugman, Channel 4 News, Ankara.
Etike Temelkuran is a journalist, activist and best-selling author. She was fired from her newspaper job in Turkey in 2012 for criticising the country's ruling party. She now lives in exile in Croatia for fear of government reprisals, taking on what she sees as the erosion of Turkish democracy in both her novels and in her journalism. On the internet, I began by asking her if she took any comfort from the opposition's strong results.
The opposition has been very emotional, especially last night. As you know, we have been all trying to protect our votes from the government because we all know that there would be poll rigging, and there was poll rigging, in fact, like the previous elections.
What evidence is there of the poll rigging?
There are videotapes. There are already official applications to the higher board of elections and so on. So there is poll rigging, not as massive as we thought it would be, but there is poll rigging. So there were, mixed emotions throughout the night because Turkish opposition has been so hopeless, and they were, in fact, sort of used to be hopeless. So their hopes were raised by Muharrem İnce and the other opposition leaders in last 2 months. So they were trying to get used to that new hopeful state of mind. And then all of a sudden, they didn't get what they expected, I think, most of them. They were expecting miracles. Miracles did not happen. But I do think that it was not a horrible outcome, let's say.
But there is a big but, and that is that Erdogan won, even if there were irregularities. He won, and he did have a large number of people voting for him.
Exactly. I mean, considering the circumstances, and especially in the last decade, considering that he seized all the state powers and he dismantled the entire political arena. And also, he locked up several thousands, few thousands of people who would be active during this election if they were outside. There is no free media, nothing like that. So if you consider those circumstances, I think it would be natural for him to come up with a 51% of the votes.
Right. Well, I mean, your book, The Insane and the Melancholy, Turkey, The Insane and the Melancholy. I mean, are we now amid it? Are we now in the midst of the insane and the melancholy?
We have been going through that for the last 15 years, in fact, in Turkey. And I wrote the book to tell the Western people that it's coming towards them as well. They are, one thing is clear now. It's a global pattern. What we are going through in Turkey is becoming a global pattern. And now it's more easy to explain what is happening in Turkey, especially after Trump came to power, after, Theresa May's political discourse is shaped by Nigel Farage's narrative and so on and so forth. After Germany, what happened in Germany. So it was insanity, inaccessible insanity for Westerners when I wrote that book. And now it's becoming more understandable for them since they started to witness similar things in their own countries.
What happens to Mr. Ince, the opposition leader? Is he safe? Can he carry on, or will he have to leave the country?
No, I think he's safe, and he's going to take a few days holiday, I guess, and then he'll be back in his work, which he should be, because we all need him and all the opposition leaders to save the democracy, to save all the colors of democracy.
Etike Temelkuran, thank you very much indeed for talking with us.
Thank you, John.